fleeting misstep, and fangs abruptly extinguish life. Life's fragile veil ruptures beneath a crushing jaw. Blood endlessly stains this untamed and primal theater. For survival remains nature's most merciless, visceral decree. Welcome to Wildverse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories of the natural world. Morning light stretches across the Serengeti in long amber ribbons, where golden grasslands ripple beneath the dry, dust-laden winds of the African dry season, a landscape stripped bare by months without rain. Amid that endless sea of grass, a herd of zebras moves slowly, perhaps 40 strong heads bowed low, grazing on the last withered blades still clinging to the cracked, sun-hardened earth. The black and white stripes on a zebra are more than mere pattern. Science has proven they create a dazzling optical effect that confounds tsetse flies, distorting the insect's approach trajectory and making it significantly harder for them to land, reducing the devastating risk of sleeping sickness that kills thousands of animals each season. Every zebra carries a set of stripes, entirely unique. A euro like human fingerprints, a euro no two individuals in the herd are ever the same. But today, those markings will not save them from the eyes watching through the tall grass 300 feet away. Several lionesses lie pressed flat against the earth, tawny hides melting into the dry golden grass until only the faint twitch of an ear betrays their presence. They have been here since before dawn, patient as stone, breathing shallow, muscles coiled. An adult lioness weighs roughly 280 pounds, considerably lighter than males, which can exceed 500 pounds. Yet, it is precisely that comparative lightness and explosive agility which makes lionesses the designated hunters of the pride, killing machines honed by millions of years of evolution. One lioness separates from the group, belly scraping the ground, each enormous paw placed with deliberate, silent precision. The gap narrows to 150 feet. Lions are not the fastest runners on the savannah. Their top speed reaches only 35 miles per hour, far slower than zebras, which can bolt at 40 miles per hour. Lions never chase over long distances. They ambush, they wait, and when they strike, everything unfolds in fewer than 10 seconds. The lioness explodes, upward muscles detonating like a compressed spring, four legs hammering the baked earth in a terrifying gallop that sends tremors through the ground, closing the distance at a rate that leaves no margin for hesitation. The zebras explode into a frantic run. A cloud of dust rolls across the plains like a brown mist. The lioness launches with deadly precision, locking onto her target without hesitation. Her crushing bite is powerful enough to hold the prey fast, ending the struggle within minutes. The hunt ends. Vultures are already circling, jackals already inching closer through the grass. On the Serengeti, one creature's death always sustains many others: hyenas, marabou storks, beetles, bacteria, and that cycle never stops turning. Zebras belong to the horse family, Equidae, with 3 species still surviving across Africa: the plain zebra, the mountain zebra, and Grevy's zebra. Plain zebras are the most abundant, numbering over 700,000 individuals, while Grevy's zebras have dwindled to fewer than 3,000, teetering on the brink of extinction. Each year, nearly 200,000 zebras join the Great Migration across the Serengeti, alongside more than 1.5 million wildebeest and hundreds of thousands of Thompson's gazelles, together forming one of the largest remaining animal migrations on the face of the earth, a spectacular visible from space. Lions succeed in only about 1 out of every 5 hunts, a punishing ratio that means for every 5 carefully planned ambushes, 4 end in failure, exhaustion, and empty bellies. That ratio forces lions to perfect the art of coordination, to each member of the pride assuming a distinct role: the driver, the flanker, and the one who delivers the killing blow. Under the scorching African sun exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit, lions spend up to 20 hours a day resting, conserving energy for those brief, explosive moments that determine the survival of the entire pride. A lion's heart accounts for a mere 0.5% of its body weight, a ratio far smaller than that of a hyena or a cheetah. This physiological weakness drains their stamina rapidly in any sprint, compelling the king of beasts to trade endurance for ambush tactics and the brutal efficiency of the pride. The African savanna is nature's grandest arena, a theater of raw survival, where the eternal war between predator and prey unfolds under a blazing, unforgiving sun, amid searing heat that warps the horizon, and an unending, desperate thirst. But on this planet, not every battle for survival plays out beneath the light. More than 5,000 miles northeast of the Serengeti, beyond the vast Eurasian continent, lies a wilderness where winter is not a season, it is an adversary. Siberia. This landmass spans more than 5 million square miles, a staggering expanse of frozen rivers, volcanic plateaus, and ancient forests, claiming nearly 10% of all the land on Earth, larger than the United States and Europe combined. Here, winter temperatures plunge to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze exposed flesh in under 60 seconds. The sun disappears entirely for months across the polar regions, and every droplet of moisture turns to crystalline stone before it touches the ground. If the African savanna tests life with scorching heat and the desperate scarcity of water, then Siberia tests it with a cold so absolute it can freeze the moisture inside a living lung within a few shallow breaths. This is the most brutal winter on Earth. Every creature here faces the same choice: adapt, migrate, or die. There is no fourth option. Yet amid this frozen realm, where frost crystals hang suspended in the still air and the silence is broken only by the crack of contracting wood, a dark shape moves through the snow-laden taiga, the shadow of the largest cat on the planet. Tracks press deep into fresh snow, each print as wide as an adult human hand, the imprint of retracted claws leaving crisp crescents in the powder. The Siberian tiger. The Amur tiger, the only subspecies adapted to snow and temperatures of -45 degrees Fahrenheit, weighs up to 440 pounds, with historic males exceeding 660 pounds. Winter fur grows to 1 inch thick, the densest and longest of any tiger subspecies on Earth, combined with a heavy layer of insulating belly fat up to 2 inches deep, forming a biological armor against the cold that no other great cat on the planet possesses. Only about 600 individuals remain in the wild, concentrated mainly in the Sikhote-Alin mountains of Russia's Far East. Each hunt is not merely a matter of one animal's survival, it is a question of the entire species' existence. Siberia's greatest enemy is not any predator. Its greatest enemy is winter itself. And deep within the taiga, the battle has already begun. The Siberian taiga, the largest coniferous forest on Earth, a green mantle visible from space, stretches 3,600 miles from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific coast, covering nearly 6 million square miles of spruce, larch, and Siberian pine. Beneath the vast canopy of pine and cedar, the Siberian taiga moves almost invisibly, its stripes dissolving the body's outline amid the interplay of shadow and light, filtering through snow-covered branches. A male tiger's territory spans up to 400 square miles larger than the entire city of New York and all 5 of its boroughs. He marks its borders with pungent urine sprayed high on tree trunks, claw rakes that scar bark from shoulder height to 6 feet above the snow, and thunderous roars that carry 2 miles through the frozen forest. In winter, snow piles 3 to 4 feet deep, but the tiger's unusually broad paws function as natural snowshoes, distributing its enormous weight across the soft surface. The tiger stalks a Sika deer belly nearly brushing the snow, each massive paw placed with soundless precision upon a frozen world. In the faint winter light, filtering through the frost-laden canopy, its amber eyes, pupils narrowed to sharp vertical slits, remain locked on the prey from hundreds of feet away. The tiger launches from 30 feet, accelerating to 35 miles per hour in the opening seconds, yet sustaining that speed for only a few hundred feet before exhaustion sets in. Only 1 in 10 hunts succeeds. Every failure burns precious energy, a currency that Siberian winter never refunds. The tiger bites precisely into the nape, a force of roughly 1,000 psi, shattering the cervical vertebrae in an instant. Death comes swift and absolute. A single tiger can consume 60 pounds of meat in one sitting, equivalent to an entire small deer devoured in a single marathon feeding session. Whatever remains is carefully cached beneath layers of snow and fallen leaves, marked by scent, and revisited over the days that follow until every ounce of nourishment has been extracted. Yet not every creature holds the privilege of sleeping through winter. On the northern tundra, where no trees offer shelter and the wind cuts to the bone, the true battle is only beginning. A wolf pack advances toward a herd of muskoxen, and the confrontation ahead will test the limits of both sides. Feeble winter light, barely grazing the horizon before sliding back into dusk, falls across the Siberian tundra as temperatures drop to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds exceeding 100 miles per hour unleash whiteout blizzards where visibility falls to zero and exposed skin freezes in under 2 minutes. The tundra, a treeless expanse of moss and lichen, stretches from the Tiger's Edge to the shores of the Arctic Ocean. The ground lies frozen hundreds of feet deep, with only a fragile surface layer thawing during the brief summer. Here there is nowhere to hide. No ridge, no hollow, no fold in the earth offers refuge. Every creature crossing the tundra stands exposed to the enemy's gaze, silhouetted against the white vastness, and so does every predator. Through the blizzard, a pack of grey wolves moves forward in disciplined single file, the alpha breaking trail through deep snow, ploughing a furrow with its broad chest, while those behind step precisely into the leader's tracks to conserve precious energy. Siberian grey wolves dwarf their temperate cousins. Shoulder height reaches roughly 31 inches, with body weight ranging from 130 to 175 pounds. A dual-layered coat, long water-resistant guard hairs on the outside, dense underfur trapping warmth within. This insulation system allows wolves to endure -50 degrees Fahrenheit without increasing their metabolic rate. The grey wolf's bite force can reach 1200 psi, a record among wild canids, more than enough to crush the femur of a moose. A wolf's howl carries up to 10 miles across the open tundra, a signal for coordination, a territorial warning, and a bond holding the pack together through blizzards that the naked eye cannot penetrate. Only the alpha pair, the leading male and female breed, controlling reproduction with a discipline that ensures the pack's resources are never stretched beyond their limits. The entire pack shares in raising the pups, regurgitating pre-chewed food, distributing kills, and defending the den against intruders. A hierarchical yet deeply cooperative society, bound by what science calls the model of cooperative breeding. The wolf pack spots a herd of roughly 15 muskoxen pawing through snow for forage on the exposed tundra. Muskoxen living fossils that walked alongside woolly mammoths more than 100,000 years ago, surviving every ice age that Earth has thrown at them. Kiviot, the downy inner fleece, shed each spring, is 8 times warmer than sheep's wool, softer and lighter than the finest cashmere, and does not shrink or felt when wet. This extraordinary fiber ranks among the rarest and most prized natural textiles in the world, commanding prices of $40 to $80 per ounce on the luxury market. Adults weigh up to 900 pounds and stand over 5 feet at the shoulder. But their most formidable weapon is not size, it is a collective defense strategy passed down through thousands of generations. When wolves appear, muskoxen swiftly form a defensive circle, calves sheltered at the center, flanks pressed warm against one another, while adults face outward with curved, razor-sharp horns presented like a living fortress that has withstood predators since the Pleistocene. Horn bosses, up to 4 inches thick, shield the skull, while the curved tips can inflict lethal wounds. A single well-aimed charge means shattered bone, and on the frozen tundra, a broken bone means death. The wolves probe, circling the defensive formation, watching, searching for the weak, the old. One wolf darts in with a feigned attack, provoking a reaction, seeking a gap in the formation. An adult bull lunges forward, horns sweeping just inches from the wolf. The standoff drags on for hours beneath the leaden Arctic sky, wolves patiently probing, testing, feinting, while muskoxen hold their formation with iron-willed resolve, clouds of vapor rising from their nostrils in the frozen air. Neither side yields an inch. This time, the muskoxen hold firm. The wolves withdraw empty-handed. The hunter does not always prevail, and on the tundra, failure means one more day of hunger in the bone-chilling cold. Wolves succeed in only about 20% of hunts against muskoxen, significantly lower than their rate against reindeer or deer. The circular defense has been refined across tens of thousands of years of confrontation with wolves themselves. But when blizzards rage for days on end, the herd is forced to break formation to feed. That is the moment wolves wait for, and patience is something wolves never lack. Farther north still, where the land ends and the sea ice begins, the true sovereign of the Arctic waits. The Arctic Ocean lies frozen solid ice, stretching across millions of square miles in every direction, 3 to 10 feet thick, groaning and creaking under its own titanic weight. A white world, silent enough to steal the breath, where the horizon dissolves into nothingness. In the dim blue-gray glow of the brief winter day, barely 4 hours of twilight before darkness reclaims the sky, a male polar bear weighing up to 1,500 pounds, standing 10 feet tall on hind legs, reigns as the supreme land predator on Earth. A bite force of roughly 1,200 psi paired with fangs capable of puncturing dense biological blubber before crushing the femur and skull of a seal. The primary prey, the ringed seal, the smallest seal in the Arctic, weighing just 110 to 150 pounds. They build small snow layers above their breathing holes, sealed chambers of snow that shield newborn pups from Arctic winds and the watchful eyes of polar bears. Yet a polar bear's sense of smell can detect a ringed seal from 1 mile away, even through more than 3 feet of snow and ice. No snow layer is ever truly safe. Polar bears employ still hunting at tidal cracks, lying motionless for hours beside a fracture, waiting for a seal to surface and breathe. Patience proves a deadlier weapon than any fang or claw. A polar bear's paw spans 12 inches across, functioning as snowshoes that distribute enormous weight, allowing the bear to traverse thin ice that would swallow any human. When a basking seal is spotted on a distant floe, the bear eases into the water with glacial stealth, swimming beneath the surface with barely a ripple disturbing the mirror-calm sea. Only a black nose, the only non-white part of its body, betrays its presence above the cold grey water. Once close enough, the bear surges from the water and heaves onto the ice edge, 1,500 pounds, launched upward in a single explosive leap. Sometimes the bear slams its massive paw spanning a full 12 inches down onto thin ice, where a seal hides below, smashing through to create a sudden breach. Each bear must consume at least 1 seal every 10 to 12 days to maintain its weight. The pressure to feed never relents. Arctic sea ice is losing more than 13% of its area per decade. The polar bear's floor is shrinking beneath its very feet. Polar bear fur is not truly white. Each hair shaft is hollow and transparent, scattering light to create the illusion of pure white. Beneath it, the bear's skin is jet black, absorbing heat from the feeble sunlight that filters through the fur. A polar bear can sprint at 40 miles per hour on land, despite its enormous weight. But on fracturing ice, speed counts for nothing, only swimming strength decides. Bears must swim ever greater distances between shrinking ice floes, paddling through frigid seas for hours and days on end. The documented record: 1 female swam continuously for 9 days without rest, covering 687 miles across open ocean, and lost her cub during that desperate, heartbreaking odyssey. "95% of a polar bear's diet consists of ringed seals, an overwhelming dependence on a single prey species that makes polar bears extraordinarily vulnerable to change. As ice melts, seals lose their breeding platforms, and bears lose their hunting ground. The two species are locked together in a shared, accelerating spiral of decline. The sea ice is melting. Polar bears have nowhere else to go. But beneath the ice on which the polar bear stands, another predator watches from the deep. Below the ice, Arctic seawater holds a temperature of roughly 28 to 29 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than any household freezer, yet teeming with life. A pod of killer whales 8 to 12 strong moves along the ice edge, where open water meets solid pack ice. The leading male stretches 32 feet long, his 6-foot dorsal fin slicing through the grey surface. Yet the true navigator is not the largest male, it is the eldest female. The grandmother orca guides the pod with knowledge accumulated over decades, remembering migration routes, remembering feeding grounds, remembering safe waters. Science calls this the grandmother effect. Killer whales spy-hop, thrusting their massive heads vertically from the water, rising until their eyes clear the surface, sweeping the ice shelf methodically in search of resting seals, silhouetted against the white. Orcas exploit fractures in the sea ice to close the distance, gliding beneath the frozen sheet, surfacing only at narrow gaps, sudden and lethal. When a seal rests on a small ice floe, the entire pod coordinates to generate waves, wave washing, sliding the prey into the water. Squad-level tactics executed with military precision. Arctic orcas belong to a distinct ecotype, smaller than temperate orcas, bearing yellowish-white patches instead of pure white. They have adapted to ice-laden waters no other ecotype dares enter. Each pod possesses its own acoustic dialect, a language unintelligible to other pods, passed from grandmother to mother to calf across generations. Culture, not instinct, shapes how they hunt. Orcas are the most widely distributed marine mammals on Earth, from the equator to both poles. But in the Arctic, they are expanding their range as sea ice melts, pushing into waters sealed shut for thousands of years. The sea ice is changing, thinning, fragmenting, retreating further each year. And beneath the ocean floor, beneath the shifting currents, a giant moves through the coldest waters on Earth, the largest creature ever to have existed in 4 billion years of life on this planet. The waters between the Arctic and the North Pacific, where frigid currents carry plankton blooms that build the food chain sustaining an entire ocean. The blue whale, larger than any dinosaur that ever walked the land, larger than anything the ocean has ever produced, stretching to 100 feet from rostrum to fluke, weighing over 200 tons, the equivalent of 33 African elephants combined. A blue whale's heart weighs roughly 400 pounds, approximately the size of a golf cart, pulsing with a slow, thunderous rhythm audible from several feet away through the water. This colossal muscle commands staggering power. Each beat pumps enough blood to fill an entire bathtub, sending it surging through arteries as wide as drainage pipes. The aorta runs wide enough for a child to swim through. The tongue alone weighs as much as an adult elephant, nearly 6,000 pounds. Consuming over 4 tons of krill each day, filtering seawater through baleen plates up to 3 feet long, each lunge engulfing a volume of water equal to the whale's own body weight. Migrating more than 10,000 miles across Arctic seas, one of the longest journeys undertaken by any species on the planet. The blue whale's call, the most powerful sound produced by any living creature, reaching 188 decibels, travels roughly 1,000 miles through the ocean. The purpose: finding a mate across boundless waters, where density amounts to just a handful of individuals per thousands of square miles. Once hunted to the brink of extinction, fewer than 1% of the original population survived the commercial whaling era. From more than 200,000 individuals, the number plummeted to between 5,000 and 15,000. Warming seas are shifting krill distribution, forcing blue whales to travel farther, dive deeper, and burn far more energy simply to find enough food. That same warming is melting sea ice, threatening polar bears above the surface, and restructuring the entire food web below. Everything connects, from the 200-ton giant gliding through the black depths of the ocean to the solitary ice floe where a polar bear stands, scanning the horizon, a single invisible thread, woven by billions of years of evolution, binds them all. But Siberian winter does not last forever. And when the first light returns after months of darkness, the transformation begins. From the south, a flock of birds approaches. Their arrival will signal the end of the longest battle on Earth. Spring sunlight returns after months of absence, pale at first, then warming to gold. Snow melts into trickling streams that carve dark veins across the white landscape, and rivers shatter their ice with thundercrack explosions that echo for miles through the valleys. From the south, snow geese fly home in great heaving waves of white V formations, cutting across the Arctic sky like living arrows, their raucous clamor shattering months of frozen silence and announcing that the siege has finally broken. Migrating more than 5,000 miles, including a non-stop leg of 1,600 miles across the open Arctic Sea. Remarkable endurance for a creature weighing less than 7 pounds, a feathered marathon runner crossing oceans on sheer willpower. The V formation is no accident. Each bird trailing behind rides the wingtip vortex of the one ahead, saving 20 to 30% of its energy. The lead position rotates. No single bird bears the full fury of the headwind alone. Tens of thousands of snow goose pairs nest on Wrangel Island's tundra, their calls rising like a symphony after months of nothing but wind and silence. Eggs must hatch before the brief Arctic summer ends, a window of just 2 to 3 months before the freeze returns. Every single day is precious. Snow geese are not the only creatures returning after the long winter. In the taiga, snow blanketing a brown bear's den begins to melt. Droplets trickle from the ceiling onto a bed of dry leaves. Inside, a heartbeat quickens from 8 beats per minute, climbing slowly to 20, then 30. The mother bear emerges, blinking into the harsh spring glare, 30 to 40% lighter than when she entered in autumn. Ribs and hip bones visible beneath a matted, tangled coat that has not seen sunlight in 5 months. But behind her, 2 cubs born in the depths of winter follow on trembling legs. The cubs see daylight for the first time in their short lives. The outside world, vast beyond comprehension, blinding in its brightness, flooded with unfamiliar scents carried on the spring breeze, is entirely new, entirely overwhelming, and entirely full of promise. Daylight stretches longer. Snow retreats to the mountaintops. And across all of Siberia, life erupts once more. The Arctic summer brings a phenomenon of wonder, the midnight sun, when light never fades for 2 unbroken months. Wrangel Island does not belong to snow geese alone. This remote, wind-scoured outpost also harbors the highest density of polar bear maternity dens anywhere on Earth. Pregnant mothers who have swum hundreds of perilous miles through ice-choked seas to reach this island, dig into snowdrifts, and bring new life into the frozen world. Arctic foxes patrol the goose nesting grounds, waiting for abandoned eggs or chicks separated from their mothers. On Wrangel, the brief summer is a feast for every opportunist. But summer passes like a dream. As daylight shortens, autumn knocks on Siberia's door, and every species feels the shift. The Taimyr Peninsula, the northernmost land on the Eurasian continent, where the world's largest wild reindeer herd begins a migration spanning more than 1,000 miles. Hundreds of thousands of reindeer flow in a living river, an unbroken column of clicking hooves, and steaming breath stretching from horizon to horizon, from the northern tundra toward the southern taiga before winter tightens. Its icy grip. Reindeer hooves transform, with the seasons soft and spongy in summer, for traction on wet ground, hard and sharp-edged in winter to scrape through ice and reach lichen beneath. The reindeer's nose conceals a sophisticated heating system, coiled nasal chambers laced with dense capillary networks that warm air from -40 degrees Fahrenheit before it reaches the lungs. Reindeer possess a visual mechanism found nowhere else in the animal kingdom. The reflective membrane, known as the tapetum lucidum, the mirror-like layer behind the retina, blazes golden in summer, filtering the punishing 24-hour glare of the midnight sun. But when Arctic winter descends, this membrane compresses into deep blue, scattering light to maximize vision through the polar darkness. Among the rare large mammals on Earth capable of perceiving ultraviolet light, the reindeer's vision stands as a flawless instrument of survival. This ability allows them to pinpoint lichen hidden beneath snow and detect, from a distance, the urine trails of dangerous predators. Reindeer are the only deer species in which both sexes grow. Antlers, males, carry larger racks, but shed them before winter, while females retain theirs throughout the cold months to defend food for themselves and their calves. This means the reindeer pulling winter sleighs, including the famous Rudolph, are, biologically speaking, female. Danger stalks the migration route. Eurasian lynx conceal themselves along the forest edge, bordering the tundra, waiting for stragglers, especially exhausted young reindeer, after days of walking. The Eurasian lynx, the largest wildcat in Europe, weighing up to 65 to 85 pounds, broad paws sheathed in dense fur. The lynx ambushes lunging from concealment, latching onto the back of a young reindeer. But adult reindeer are too large lynx, target-only calves or exhausted individuals that fall behind the herd. As reindeer migrate across the tundra, they inadvertently help muskoxen reach forage buried below. In Siberia, even strangers can become reluctant allies. The wolverine, the gravedigger of the tundra, also shadows the migrating reindeer herds. Weighing just 40 to 50 pounds, yet possessed of a ferocity so disproportionate that even grizzly bears have been known to yield a carcass, wolverines scavenge the frozen dead, crack open marrow bones with crushing jaws, and occasionally ambush exhausted reindeer, many times their own size. The Tamir reindeer population once numbered 1 million strong, the largest wild reindeer herd on Earth. But a devastating combination of climate change, shifting vegetation patterns, and relentless overhunting has slashed that figure by more than 40% within a single generation. The living river is running dry. Reindeer vanish into the taiga, swallowed by the darkening forest. Leaves turn gold, then bronze, then fall in silent drifts. The first winds carrying Arctic cold sweep down from the north, and the land begins its long surrender to darkness. In the Altai Mountains along Siberia's southern frontier, jagged passes rising above 10,000 feet lie buried beneath deep, wind-sculpted snow. In the soft, amber-tinged autumn light, a phantom drifts along the sheer mountainside, visible for an instant before dissolving back into stone. The snow leopard ghost of the peaks, smoky grey fur dappled with black rosettes, merging seamlessly into granite draped in white. Even standing 10 feet away, a person could look straight past without ever noticing. Weighing 60 to 120 pounds, far smaller than a tiger or a common leopard. But on near vertical slopes, where a single misstep means death, smaller size becomes the advantage. A snow leopard's tail stretches nearly as long as its body, serving as a counterbalance when leaping across cliff faces and wrapping around its muzzle for warmth during nights at -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Broad paws cloaked in thick fur, natural snowshoes distributing weight across soft snow, while prey flounders chest deep. the snow leopard tracks a herd of argali, massive Siberian wild sheep, with curling amber horns through a narrow mountain pass dusted with fresh powder. It has covered more than 25 miles over treacherous, near-vertical terrain since dawn, navigating by scent and memory to reach the flock's favored resting ground. A single snow leopard's territory can exceed 77 square miles, a kingdom of rock and snow where humans almost never set foot. This is why the snow leopard remains one of the least studied big cats in the world. Specially enlarged nasal cavities, a heating system that warms air from -40 degrees Fahrenheit before it enters the lungs, sustaining performance at oxygen-starved altitudes, where each breath delivers only half the oxygen found at sea level. The ambush, the snow leopard, explodes from a snow-covered outcrop, locking onto its prey's back with outstretched claws. Both tumble down the steep, near-vertical slope in a churning cloud of powdered snow, bouncing off granite outcrops, limbs entangled. The snow leopard never lets go, its claws locked deep, its jaw clamped tight, even if the fall spans hundreds of feet. A single successful kill can sustain a snow leopard for days, its daily requirement only 3 to 4 pounds of meat. But the snow leopard cannot roar. Unlike tigers or lions, it lacks the ossified hyoid structure in the larynx needed to produce that sound. Instead, it moans, chuffs, and wails, sounds unexpectedly gentle for an apex predator. Seen from orbit, the snow leopard's kingdom, a scattered archipelago of high-altitude habitat across 12 nations, is shrinking at an alarming rate as warming temperatures push the tree line upward and human settlements encroach from below. Globally, only 4,000 to 6,500 individuals cling to survival in the wild. Within Russian territory alone, these fading sparks of life represent a mere 70 to 90 souls, clustered along the treacherous slopes of the Altai-Sayan range. A fragile population, labeled vulnerable by the IUCN, more exposed than ever before. Thousands of feet below the summit, in taiga forest draped in freezing fog, another silent hunter stalks its prey. The Eurasian lynx moves between snow-laden trunks, producing almost no sound. Its grey-brown spotted coat dissolves into bark and taiga shadow. Fur-sheathed paws allow the lynx to float atop soft snow while prey sinks, belly deep, stripped of every speed advantage. Siberian lynx rank among the largest of their species, nearly double the size of temperate lynx, powerful enough to bring down prey 3 to 4 times their own weight. Primary winter quarry, snowshoe hares and grouse. The hares have donned white coats for flawless camouflage against the snow, yet the lynx needs no eyes to find them. These tufts amplify sound like natural antennae, enabling the lynx to detect a hare's footfall on snow from 250 feet away. The hunting technique, a pouncing leap from concealment, one single strike, precise and decisive. If it misses, the lynx does not give chase. Conserving energy matters more than any single meal. Snow leopards haunt the windswept peaks above the clouds. Lynx prowl the fog-shrouded forest, far below, both invisible phantoms sharing the same mountain range, both absolute masters of concealment, and both threatened by the same gathering force, the irreversible shrinking of their habitat. Fog is not the enemy. For invisible hunters, fog is an ally. And as autumn days grow shorter, fading light surrenders to lengthening darkness. Winter prepares its return. But this land is changing faster than at any point in recent history. Siberia is warming 2 to 3 times faster than the global average. Permafrost beneath the surface is thawing ancient ground that has remained frozen since the last ice age, now softening into mud, releasing methane and carbon dioxide trapped for thousands of years, fueling a self-reinforcing spiral of warming that science has yet to find a way to reverse. Sea ice contracts. Taiga shifts northward. Tundra shrinks. Every species in this story, from the Siberian tiger to the snow goose, from the polar bear to the blue whale, feels the change. Wild Siberia does not need us to survive, but it needs us to stop destroying. Siberia has endured multiple ice ages. The question now, a euro, can Siberia survive us? Thank you for journeying with Wildverse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told until we meet again on the next expedition. Subscribe to the channel now. Every subscription is a vote of support for us to keep telling these extraordinary stories. Africa, a continent where every terrain, every altitude, and every ecosystem operates by its own laws. Yet, when the water recedes, a single mandate remains: adapt or perish. Ten species, 10 strategies. From the sun-baked grasslands to the parched riverbeds, from the blazing midday sky to the moonless dark. And out on the dry plains, where all life retreats toward the final waterhole, a hunter is watching the only predator in Africa capable of bringing down a mature eland, the lion. The lionesses lie motionless in the golden grass, masters of concealment. Their amber eyes remain. Lionesses are the pride's primary hunters. Males defend the territory, but the price of a domain is measured in sustenance, and it is the females who provide it. The dry season forces everything closer.